So we are thriving off of that. And that's what makes us who we are. And in the meantime, in the back of it, we're kind of raising ourselves, okay?
Sure.
Because the dad and mom, they're in trouble, and dad's always causing trouble. And that does make the kids bond with each other. To this day, we bond, we're very tight as siblings because through most of our young adult, he tried to keep us apart from each other to not gang up on him.
Wow.
Later, we got this all figured out, you know.
Yeah.
Now I didn't have counseling; it's just all self-analysis. But he failed in terms of he tried to keep us separate, and as he raised us, so we wouldn't unite against him because he was a authoritarian in a real strict sense of the way, you know.
Yeah.
So his way or the highway, you know, all that business. So that followed us in adulthood. Some of us forgave him. I unfortunately didn't. I didn't, and our mom stayed loyal to him, so I lost her too. And then they died young. Mom
Wow.
was 56 and dad was 63. You
Wow.
know, now I'm 72. I said, God dang it, why did they die? Could have resolved something, but you know, so that's the lesson to all you people. Don't wait too long.
Yeah.
You never know. I did have questions, and I thought it could have been okay in the end, but it was very harsh what happened, and I'd had it with him. You know,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
during the career, you know, there's a lot of people counting on you. You know, the record company, you know, all that goes along with a career like that.
Sure.
So you respond to that by to the grindstone. You know, what's next? What's the next album? All right, then let's go. Oh, we're producing now. Okay, fine. No, we're not producing now. Okay, fine. Who is? Indian Lake, you know, Wes Farrell. Okay, give us Wes. Well, we didn't get along with that. Wes is gone. We do hair. Oh God, now we got the biggest one. We did that ourselves again. So, you
Yeah.
know, it's nutty, right? And by the time hair's done, we've dealt with so much craziness. Geez, if this would have been a smooth ride, you know, who
Yeah.
knows how long we could have gone, you know?
Yeah.
Uh, but it wasn't
Oh
going to
yeah.
be a smooth ride. So that's okay. And how you deal with that is going to define the rest of your future.
Dystopia tonight. Dystopia tonight.
I never even wanted to do a podcast before. I liked being on stuff, but you know, it was getting to that point where I'm sure you know this all too well, but you know, when we were in lockdown, you know, it would get to be like 9 o'clock, you know, performing time, and
Yeah,
I
right.
would start
Time to
getting
sing.
yeah,
Time to sing. Hey, so do you still do the circuit though? Do you
yeah,
still do
man.
the
I'm
stand up? You're out there?
Yeah, I'm back out there,
You got your
especially
own
this year.
world. You got your own world in that world.
Yeah,
You know
man.
what I mean? It's your own clubs, your own circuits, your own people, your own fellow comedians. It's an amazing thing. Your workhorses.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, man. And it's I
Yeah.
gotta tell you, I feel the same way about you guys, you know, musicians. Just that world is so, you know, foreign to me. But I've been learning so much just from getting to talk to, you know, a bunch of you guys, and it's very, you know, it's cool. Like, I don't know, I mean, I'm sure you know a bunch of comedians, especially like going on TV and doing all that stuff and touring, you know, when you guys started, but like it's somewhat similar. I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like just the hotels and the, you know, and traveling and kind of doing all that stuff. So I feel like there's a little bit of crossover.
Oh no, there's a lot because it's like we do this happy together tour in the summer. One nighters, I mean 60 cities, you
Right.
know, anyway. But yeah, you get there, you do it, you get off the so it's what we have in common is how are we handling the 23 hours and 20 minutes that we have to deal with for the 40 we get on stage,
Yeah.
right? Now, once we hit the stage, that's where we're going to divert from each other. But up
Right.
at that point, we're dealing with a lot of the same stuff. You're right.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Yeah. And I get
Yeah.
that too. I mean, I mean, I know guys who spend those 23 minutes getting into horrific trouble. And then other people, you know, where you're
Yeah.
like, it's hard to avoid that kind of shit though, too, because you're like, what the fuck? Either you stay in that hotel room, you know,
Yeah.
or you just, you know,
Yeah.
or
But
you,
you know what? Honestly, God bless all of you. You are out there on your own. You look left
mm,
to right, you see no one. I look left to right, and I have a sister and a brother. So
yeah,
it's like that's a big difference in terms of on stage. What you do, we think what you do is so hard. You're all on your own. We sing the same songs, and so we can learn some songs to perk it up for ourselves. But
Mhm.
it's not different in that. I'm sure you have a memorized set of as a comedian. You know, there's got
Yeah.
to be some with some flex, I guess. But we're fascinated by what you do.
Oh, that's
We
cool.
would never be able to do that. All right,
Oh
never.
man, that's so I love that's so cool, man, because it's the same. Like every comedian I know wants to desperately be. We all try to dabble and play a music, play an instrument or something. But we're 9 times out of 10 we're pretty horrible at it.
Yeah,
um,
but it's like Patrick Mahomes said. He played basketball and baseball. And he goes, yeah, football. We football players want to be basketball players, and basketball players want to be football players, and we all want to be baseball players. So it's like I get that. Like I want to be a bass player, not a rhythm guitar. You know, you're always
right.
looking. What are they doing? That looks like more fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, I get it. Yeah.
Do you guys develop like a pattern and rhythm like because I've seen like a bunch of musicians live. I'm going to see you guys, by the way. You're coming to my sort of neck of the woods. You're going to be at Count Basie
Oh
in
yeah. The
what,
basic theater.
June, July, I think, or July
It's
maybe.
probably June or
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
probably a June date. I don't know, but
Oh, okay,
we'll be
yeah.
there. We'll
I'm
be
gonna
there.
take my mom to see you guys because that's how I started listening to the Cowsills to begin with. My mom had a 45, 245s of your songs, and I mean they washed away in the hurricane when she's so bummed out. Like all her records, like we had
That
this.
was probably some collection. But your
Yeah.
mom, yeah, she'll know every song on this show. I mean, every
Oh,
song
that's
by
awesome.
every group. I mean, they're hit records. They were big hits.
Yeah.
I don't know, for some reason, all of us back in the 60s, because we're kind of the first generation of all that was coming. You know, and we're gonna show the scars, the bad contracts, we're gonna lose the money, we're gonna lose each other, we went through and now the kids they have good business managers, and we're glad about that.
Hmm.
But for some reason, we all could get in there and for about 4 or 5 hit records, do it. It was crazy time. We were young and the
Yeah.
arrangements were all good. Everybody's arrangements were good and on these hits. And it's quite the time. It was quite a time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. And
We recorded 3 albums in 1 year,
wow.
back then. I mean, they don't, then now they milk one in 3 years, for 3 years. And that's okay. I get it.
Yeah.
It's a
It is.
bigger world.
What do you think of that kind of thing where like now it's like, the music that's kind of released, like if somebody actually releases a full album, it's huge because no one does that. But like for the most
No.
part, like people trickle out singles. Do you find listening to like do you like listening to music as an album, like actually having the whole thing, or do you like now have you adjusted to like listening to something like this is their first single, this is their new single, you know what I mean? Like do you like listening to it that way?
No, I like an album. I like a piece of work, what they perceive to be their best piece of work. The first one always is. I mean, every piece of work is perceived that way, but your first one, you've had years to do it. It's finally here, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
The second one, hey, where's your second one? Well, give me a second,
Yeah.
But the first one is very special in that way, it
Right.
really is. So, you just learn to, it's just a heady thing to go through
Yeah.
to be competing with so many people. I think today it's fractured, right? But what does that give? More opportunity for more artists in more genres. Okay, I get
Sure.
that part of it. The sacrifice is no one's connected like our generation was by 3 radio stations, 3 TV stations, the same songs.
Yeah.
And that's why our tour is so popular because the songs bring back such memories. We are connected so deeply by these songs. And
Absolutely.
but now today, there's a millionaire over there with a hair record, and I haven't heard the record or know who that millionaire is even. I can miss them totally.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's a big difference today than back then.
Absolutely. And the thing I think is so hard is that so much stuff kind of gets lost. Like if it's not, and not to you know, I'm not trying to shit on a particular genre or anything like that too, but like if you watch an award show or something like that, I think sometimes people, especially younger people, get the impression that that's the Mount Rushmore of music right there because they're getting an accolade. And it's like you're missing out on now like a whole swath of different kinds of talent and different kinds of people because they're just not, like you said, they don't have this huge team behind them,
Mhm.
and putting out that kind of stuff. Like, and it's a shame because I think there's just, if you're
Well,
not.
you're as a listener, you're up against so much content. Okay, so there's tons of content. Good for the artists, good for the songs, good for the content.
Yeah.
But you got to fight for attention now. So yeah, you could see an award show and think that, well, there was one time the Grammys one year, recent year, I don't think it was last year, but it looked like, hip hop was the genre of the day, and this is what everyone listened to. This is who's
Yeah.
getting the awards. They're patting ourselves on the back. But and it's true, but there's so many genres and so many fractions of this music. You can't put it all in one award show. So that genre that year, this genre, I remember the Taylor Swift years, these years,
Yeah.
those years. There's only room for so much. But even in our day, it was the top 10. 10. And
Yeah.
you're fighting for I mean, it was crazy. And it
Yeah.
still is, I'm sure. It's still, but there's so much content, and yeah, they don't need your album. They don't need they want to download what they want and control that, listen to it when they want to listen to it. They don't care about your artwork. I mean, some people, they
Right.
just buy music.
Yeah.
Literally, people buy words, not books, and it's come to that, and that's okay. I mean, streaming and digital, we get it.
Sure.
um, there's a lot of action in there, and a lot
Yeah.
of money, and a lot of money. So
Yeah, that world is even frustrating for my friends and I in comedy. Like it's a hassle. But I was talking to a couple friends of mine who are musicians, like in Jersey and stuff, and it's just the same thing where they're like batting their heads against the wall because you got to get content out there, and it's like, are you a content creator, or are you trying to work on your music? It's the same thing for us too, where you're like,
yes.
I spend so much time sometimes cutting video and doing that kind of shit where I'm like, I need to be writing, you know what I mean? I need to be doing that kind of stuff, but you've got to be like a million things instead of just concentrating on the one.
And you can't show up, and you have to accept that, by the way,
Yep.
because that's what you're going to have to do. Because if you show up and you haven't done it, you're not even going to get in the line. Okay, then I think I'm going to look at you. Are you funny? Yeah, I'm funny. Well, where's an example? Oh, it's right up there on you, where it better be when everyone goes to look for it. And if it isn't, look what you're up against. Back in
Absolutely.
our day, you did look for a record company. It was true. You hit
Hmm.
the streets. It was true. This record company had everything you needed that you didn't have to make it. All you
Right.
had was your talent and your music,
Yeah.
period. The deal was, we'll give you the talent, you'll get it to the world. And that was the deal. And it worked for a long, long time until
Right.
now. You have to do so much yourself before you can even approach whoever you're going to approach.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
it's so consolidated on top, up on top of the Taylor Swifts and the established sellers and the people they've decided are going to make it because of the team behind whoever it is.
Sure. Yeah.
That's what some of what goes on today. You're not going to hit the streets. You're going to hit the internet. You're going to get the shingle out. The best shingle you can ever hang is going to have to be hung, and
Yeah.
then you can sit down and like, welcome to 2024. How do you get attention to the shingle? And
Yeah, man.
the fight is on. And there you go.
Well put, man. Absolutely. And for
Yeah.
you guys, like you and your family, I mean, you guys were basically prodigies, right? Like you guys each had your specific talent, and kind of like you credit your mom for this kind of thing, right? Like kind of getting you introduced into music and always kind of like instilling it with inside all of you, like in your family and stuff. But you guys seem to, you know, hit like one after the other. Like you just kind of meshed well. You knew what you were doing, like a whole family full of talent, which is just incredible.
And from mom, when we credit mom, honestly, and this is just true because we did this on our own as kids, this
Hmm.
was our interest. We taught ourselves the guitar at 7 and 8 year olds. And by the time we're 12 and 13, me and Bill, my brother, are proficient strummers and singers. And our mom, yeah, she's teaching us the Wayward Wind and Rock and Roll and Ocean. You don't know these songs, no one does. But this is what we're singing when I'm very, very young in the late 50s, early 60s. It's
Hmm.
all Perry Como and Ernie Ford, and
Right.
we're watching Mitch Miller on TV. We're watching the Osmonds on the Andy Williams on TV, on the Andy Williams show. We're watching the McGuire sisters, the Lennon sisters,
Hmm.
and this harmonizing business is sinking in, and we're just kids.
Yeah.
The Beatles haven't even come to give us direction and songs and gear, what
Wow.
choices. We're just on our own. We're going to hit folk music long before the Beatles come. And folk music's where you learn to harmonize and strum and long songs and memorize all that goes with hoot nannies. And we're in like the 7th, 8th grade playing hoot nannies. They went all night, had 10 artists. Everyone had 10 songs with 20 verses. It was eternal,
Wow.
but it's what you did. We were in Newport, Rhode Island, and the folk festival was every summer, a famous folk festival, the
Hmm.
Newport Folk Festival. And in came Peter, Paul, and Mary and the Kingston Trio, and all of them came in
Wow.
to Newport. And so we were like, holy mackerel. Yeah, we got into that all right. You bet, blowing in the wind and hang down your head, Tom Dooley, all of it. Those were great songs. And then the Beatles, of course, are going to come up and say, look, all right, you did that, do this now. And
Right.
everything was going to shift right there. But up until then, yeah, Mom, she sang with us. We sang at a talent contest. I was in the 4th grade, so it's like whatever, 1957 or 8 at school. It was me, Mom, and Bill singing together. I remember that. So
Hmm.
there we did it. We didn't want her in our rock group later,
No, yeah.
It's just that. I mean, oh my gosh, let's get Mom in the band. Remember, she sang with us. It's like, let's keep Mom as far away from this band as you can possibly keep her. Is what you do with your band when you're kids, when you're teenage
Sure.
kids. It's like, don't come near us. But we're starting to sound good in the house, and the parents are going to take notice, and of course, hit the
Yeah.
streets for the deal. That we
What were
want to go
you
for.
when you guys say you taught yourselves the instruments and stuff like that? Was there a particular record or a particular album or influence that you had that you would listen to over and over again to get those right, or did you just kind of have each other and work off of it? Like, what was your compass there for figuring out the notes?
Having each other was a little later and a little older, but
Okay.
in the very very beginning, we are picking songs. I mean, I'll just look. I happen to have this here, not but it's like
Oh, sweet.
my first performance was to my 3rd grade class, and we did songs. We learned them that had 2 chords, and we had 4-string guitars. So I'm not having to do a C like that C. I can do a simple C with 2 fingers,
Sure.
but it's a all day, all night, Marianne,
Hmm.
all day seaside sifting sand. Even little children love Marianne all day, all night, Marianne. That's a D and an A. So as a 3rd grader, I'm all over that song.
Hmm.
It's 2 chords,
Love that song.
It's like pressing a button on a computer. You do something that amazes someone else, and all you did was press a button. I mean, but the 3rd grade, I sang the song, 2 chords. They're not counting the chorus.
Yeah.
Bobby's up singing. And so this was not self-taught. It was self-taught because it was self-loved. We loved Ricky Nelson. We loved these groups,
Yeah.
these singing and the playing and the songs. And we were just hooked as children. And I know our parents with 7 kids, if a group subset likes something and it's harmless like music and keeps them in the house, like in the living room rehearsing, hey, this is great. This
Yeah.
is good news in the house. And now they're good. And I'm about in the 9th, 10th grade. Bill's in the 11th, and John and Barry and Paul, everyone's younger. When Dad really does take notice, and you guys are good, and we got work.
Yeah.
The Beatles came out, and the Beatles, I joke about it, but it's not a joke. They brought material. The Beatles, all their songs were so good for the first time. Anybody had good, all their songs are good. All
Hmm.
the bands were good, and we were ripe for it. I was 14, Bill was 15, Barry was 12, John was 10. We were soaking the Beatles in, learned all their songs, and started playing clubs because we had a knack for doing them well,
Right.
because we had that DNA thing. Mom, it's from Mom, but we credit the DNA from Mom for this
Right.
singing. She didn't never sat us down and said, "Hey, sing. This is how you do it, and this is what it sounds like." She was just raising a bunch of kids. That's
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
she was doing. But
What
she
was
was going
going
to get
on?
in eventually.
Yeah. What was going on in the background of that kind of thing where like you guys were getting all this influence from music, the Beatles are coming out and all that stuff. Was the focus only like music, or did any of you guys have like visions of grandeur, like, okay, we're gonna do some music, we're gonna get on TV, like, and then, movie, like that kind of thing. You know how some people have those stepping stones to like,
Yeah.
yeah, or was it all about the music for you?
It was all about the music after Paul and I stopped baseball because we were kids that like baseball and everyone thinks they're going to be a major leaguer. But anyway, the music. And the thing that happened was it brought us along, and it still does to this day, meaning that we got good. So, we got a gig at a club. And you're never as good as as a kid, you think you're good, but it's the people around you that let you know you're good.
Yeah.
Okay, so we knew we were good at the Beatles. I could do McCartney. Bill could do Lennon. We knew what to do with this, especially after the three Ed Sullivan shows. When we saw how they did it, then we were home free. But anyway, so we got work at the club, and we got seen there by a NBC the Today Show person who came to Newport, Rhode Island, from New York. They all
Mhm.
came up there once in a while, and we got on the Today Show just because we were four brothers who were talented, and they gave us 20 minutes, and we did cover tunes like Reach Out and crazy cover tunes at the time.
Wow.
But from that, you're going to get your first record label, which is you're going to get dropped, and then you're going to get your second, you're going to get dropped, then you're going to get your third record label, and
Right.
then you're going to have a hit, and you're lucky you got 3 yeses, because usually you're looking for one, and you're
Yeah.
going through all the notes. We got dropped from 2 labels at first, picked up by the third, and had the Rain in the Park and Other Things finally in '67, and did it. But we were given opportunity. I think it would be very hard to get today.
Yeah.
After your first drop, they got dropped from a label. Well, all right, let's not waste time there. Let's go here. There's so much
Right.
volume.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the thing. Even as a comic, like, when I would read books about the entertainment industry or other people's experiences, because I absorbed that kind of stuff when I was a kid. I was a huge comedy nerd. So, like, any book that I could get my hands on about the 70s and 80s of the comedy scene or whatever that is. But, like, one of the things I noticed, especially in the music industry, is that, and I think Frank Zappa had said this at one point too, but the guys in charge used to just throw shit against the wall and see, if it sold, it sold. If it didn't, it didn't. And now, and I've been in a ton of fucking meetings where people seem to do this kind of shit where they're too cautious. Where I hate to say it, but they're younger than me or around my age, but they're not interested in something that has to grow or might be good. They're like, is it going to be a hit immediately? Or am I going to have to, suffer a thing? But like, I feel like with, like you said, the 3 record labels that you guys wind up picking up, usually if you're dropped from one, that might be it. But I think back then, and it was probably like, yeah, let's see what happens. You know what I mean? Like, or maybe there wasn't that instant information thing with like, everybody getting all the stuff on the internet immediately. You know what I mean?
I think you're dead on. I
Yeah.
think you're dead on, because back then there was room to do that. There
Right.
was room to maneuver. Too
Right.
much gambling, too much risks today. If you fail today, you only had so big of a niche, so big of a thing to make it in. And don't try and go to the left or right of that's not your thing.
Yeah.
That's somebody else's thing.
Right.
So you're governed. Back then, the whole planet was ours, man. It's like, if you love Led Zeppelin, it was still going to be KHJ in LA, and they're going to play Stairway to Heaven. And then the Cowsills are going to come on, and then the 1910 Fruit Company is going to come on. Everybody's going to come on the same station.
Hmm.
So you're aware of everybody's music. You like your own. And that's why today we are all bonded by our music. And I don't think it's going to be anyone behind us that have that, unfortunately. It's not their fault. It's okay.
Yeah.
They'll be
Yeah.
bonded with something else, I guess, but not that.
No, I hear you. I know. And that's why it lasts. That's why it's so fucking good. You know what I mean? Like, that's just like, even if I play, any of your stuff to somebody who's, there was a friend of mine who's, kid was going to be a flower girl in a wedding. And then she was kind of like, there's all, there's music about every other part of a wedding and every other thing or
Of
whatever.
course.
And I swear to God, she was like, oh, there's no music about a flower girl. And I was like, oh,
Ah.
and not that it's like, you know what I mean? Like, not about like, but I was like, oh, but hold on.
Yeah.
Like one of the best songs.
You're going to have to, first of all, that this is going to be historical more than current. And there is a song, but here's the story. It's from way
Mhm.
back then, but people know it,
Yeah, yeah.
it's funny how that is. It's been in a lot of weddings where we call those honorable mentions, when people use the song. I mean, honest to God, you won't believe this. Most recently, it was used in Netflix in one of those Chucky episodes.
No
Used
way.
Yeah, so it's in like episode 3. Chucky's in an Uber, okay, or a cab, and while the Rain in the Park and Other Thing is playing, Chucky's killing the cab driver by shoving an umbrella down his throat, and it's like, we're going, well, what a contrast! It's so bizarre. And one of the answers is like, hey, kudos to the Cowsills for letting them use their song. Well, we didn't write that song, so we do not administer the
Right.
publishing. The
Sure.
the writer, the publishing did, but still. it is funny. The life of the song. It was in Dumb and Dumber. It was in some
Yeah.
other Netflix show where they're torturing a dog or something. I don't know.
Oh
Anyway,
God.
but you know what we call that like it's like pop culture,
Sure.
and being a small kind of part of it. Like the biggest version is today Taylor Swift. That's
Yeah.
pop culture. That's
Yeah.
why she's at the games. That's why we're going to see her in the booth. We got
Yeah.
pop culture hanging around. It's huge. It's bigger
Absolutely.
than anyone could ever imagine. So I get that. Uh, but when David Letterman comes on his show one night, and I'm sitting there, and he says, and they go, and now the man who thought the music business would never be the same since the Cowsills retired, David Letterman. They go, and I looked to, I said, is that pop culture? I think it is that mentioned. I guess that's being part of, or if you're on we're mentioned on The Simpsons a few
Oh
times, and
yeah.
you get in here and there, then you go, wow, people kind of make it look like we're okay. We love that
Absolutely.
stuff. We love
Yeah.
that stuff.
Man, I have a few questions that are not all joined together that I'm going to ask you. So just bear
That's
with
fine.
me. I was like,
Fire away.
awesome. So, well, one thing I want to know for sure. You mentioned Ricky Nelson, which actually, before I get to Ricky Nelson, so
Yeah.
we were talking about just what we were talking about with being allowed to use your music and other stuff, which I find fascinating because a lot of artists that I've spoken to do like one of two things, right? A lot of people now will specifically name their songs after like mundane, even if the song isn't necessarily about it, but
Yeah.
they
I know.
know movies
Yeah.
and television people are not paying attention. They're not actually
Yeah.
listening to the song, but they're like, what's this guy doing in a scene? He's washing dishes. Let me see if there's a song, with that title. Has nothing to do with what it is, but they'll play it anyway. I love that
Yeah.
shit. The other thing is I was talking to I had Marv Ross from Quarter Flash as a guest like a week or two ago. I don't know if you know him.
Okay,
Um,
yes, I know of them.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, he was saying they have no say whatsoever over Hard My Heart because it's still owned by the record label. So
Okay.
he only finds out if someone uses his songs, which blew me away because I thought you guys all had like approval, right? Like I thought that was
Mhm.
like you guys had to watch the material and go,
Yeah.
yes, you can use my
No.
music. I
Yeah,
had no
not
idea.
at
And he was
all.
like, I don't find out until I get a check.
Listen, when Dumb and Dumber came out, we all know what Dumb and Dumber is, Jim
Yeah.
Carrey's movie, great guy movie. But when that came out, my daughter called me from a movie. Said, "Hey, Dad, your song's in a movie." I said, "It is," and it was the Rain, the Park, and Other Things, Fargo song, and
Yeah.
it was in Dumb and Dumber prominently, by the way, and three verses. It keeps coming back to it. Anyway, now it's historical that it's in there and used so well, but
Hmm.
we didn't know about it. I didn't. That's how I found out. Back then, Universal had control of our catalog. Now we sued them since and won. It took 8 years, and we
Nice.
would get money for that now, for instance. But
Oh,
back then, you're just honored that Jim Carrey, you're in one of his movies. You're honored, saying, "Where's my money? Where's it?" You're telling people you had a meeting with Jim Carrey. You never met him, but your songs in his movie. They think you're friends. You had meetings.
yeah.
It was a good time, and that was our attitude until a lawyer kind of says, I said, "You're being ripped off." And he was right and all that.
Yeah.
But anyway, but you're right. It can happen and you don't know it if you don't administer it or keep control of your catalog. And that, about that issue. And
Yeah.
that's
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
a tough one.
The other thing I want to know is you had mentioned Ricky Nelson earlier, and I know you guys put out a new album. It was a Christmas album last year, but I know you guys have a bunch of like new songs. Are your fans cool with you guys mixing in newer music? Like, how do they respond to that? Because when you said Ricky Nelson, I thought of Garden Party when
Yeah,
he
of course.
and that always sticks in my head because you guys, of course, you guys are going to write new music and all that other stuff. But how are your fans cool with you slipping in new stuff
Yeah.
or
Yeah, they are actually.
good?
Look, some of our fans wish we would do more of that.
Mm,
But we like to read our audience. There's two issues. Our audience is issue number one, and we're issue number two. The audience is an issue because, especially on the cruises we do, the Happy Together tour in the summer, you're limited. You're with five other groups. You do your five hits
hmm
every night in the summer. And the audience comes in knowing that, and they know what they better sound like. And all of it. That's why some of the groups that don't have the original artists on our tour, like let's say the Bogues, for example, there's no Bogues in the Bogues. But the
Okay.
Bogues, who are the Bogues now, sing those songs so magnificently that
Mm.
the audience says, "Bravo to you. We agree you should be the Bogues now. And they have a harder time actually than
Wow.
somebody like us or the association. We have an off night, they go, oh, that's okay. You're old. We know you gave us the Flower Girl, so we don't care. Hey, bravo. But the Boats can't screw up. They better
Yeah.
nail those songs at the onset. You better sing them good. Yeah. So it's funny how that is though. And now the second issue is us as a band. We have
Hmm.
always been a cover band as kids, as Beatle maniacs.
Hmm.
Our only live and concert album, the best seller we had in our old history, was a live and concert album. There's not one of our old hits on it. It's all cover tunes. We just decided to sing our best favorite cover tunes, Monday, and
Yeah.
all these fun songs, Mr. Postman, things we love to do. And to this day, we have a knack for if we do a cover tune, if we're doing You've Got Your Troubles by the Fortunes or You're on My Mind the We5, you're
Ooh.
going to close your eyes and you're going to hear the Fortunes and you're going to hear the We5 and you're going to hear the Bus Stop, but the Hollies, because we have that we were born with that ability and played the clubs our whole life. And it's in the clubs,
Yeah.
4 hours a night, that you learn to do this stuff really good. And we had years of that when we were young, of those club nights that went Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 4 hours a night, and you just got good. It's just like
Yeah.
baseball, practice, practice, practice. Well, repetition, repetition, repetition. It's the same. It was the same thing, but as kids, it's fun. So
Sure.
you're doing it, but you're not sitting there going, "We better play tomorrow. We need repetition." You're just loving what you're doing.
Hmm.
But as older artists, we're glad that happened to us as younger artists. It kept us in shape as singers and performers. It really did that. We worked all the time.
Yeah. And you guys, when you were, when it was, do you think TV or radio? I mean, obviously TV back then was huge and it got you way, way more exposure. But for you personally, like, were there milestones where you guys were like, holy shit, we're now being played on our favorite radio. So, we're on the radio. This is huge. Oh my
Yes.
God, amazing. And then like, was the TV the next thing, or were you know what I mean? Like, what was
The
more
TV
exciting?
was the TV was first. In 1967, we have a first million seller after three flops. I
Wow.
mean, I'm a junior in high school. It's like I don't even talk about it in school anymore. But anyway, we finally have it. I graduate, we have a hit, and then we have the hit.
Yeah.
And you go like, all right, that's an incredible experience. So now we're invited on the Ed Sullivan Show. The Ed Sullivan Show at the time in TV land is the top of the bell curve. It's Mount Everest. You have to be invited. The Beatles were on it. You want to be on it. Everyone wanted to be on it. He
Sure.
only had one rock group per Sunday night. It's live television, 8 o'clock on Sunday. Everyone makes time to get in front of the TV. You make plans. You're not going to tape it. You're not going to see it Monday. You got one pass. That getting on that show was the biggest TV experience of my life, our life, the group's life, and the family's life, because it was so big. The country saw you, the
Yeah.
whole country. The next day, the spike. I saw you on Sullivan last. Thank you, thank you. Saw you on Sullivan. Thank you, thank you. The only other thing after that was real big for me was when I was 19, we moved to Los Angeles and we had our fourth hit record. It's going to be our last, but it's going to be big. So it's Hair, and it's from the
Mhm.
musical. And when I land in LA, and we move into our Santa Monica house, we've got the number one record in the country, Hair. And it's like on KHJ, the great KHJ. We're on KHJ. It's like, wow, and I'm young enough still at 19. It's not gone to my head. I do at 19 think we know how to do this. This is the biggest hit we've ever had. We'll have more. So I'm laying there, not worried in Santa Monica, and Hair's number one, proving I shouldn't worry. Worry's going to come. But
Sure.
at that moment, I got to tell you, every time it came on the radio and I'm driving around town or whatever, and it's number one, it's like you're in a car and not everyone knows you, what you look like, not like today. So
Yeah.
you're in your car, it's blasting, your top's down, it's convertible, and your song, but you can't quite bring yourself to look at the car over next to you and say, "Hey, that's my record." But,
Roll
but
down your window.
it's number
You know?
one. It's selling 50,000 a day, and it's like, so you feel like nobody, while something big is going on back then, it could be that way, oddly enough. You
Yeah.
don't feel like nobody, but I could navigate anonymously. Certainly, if I'm with my brothers or my sister, now the gig is up, they know who we are. But
Sure.
alone, I'm out there. I look like an Osmond as much as a Cowsill, as much as any of us. We all looked alike, so they might think it, but we need a little more to prove but what it was like. But that was a great, great time when Hair was number one, and we lived in Santa Monica, and Cage, they played it, of course, it was all the time.
Yeah.
It was just, I go, wow. And because you listen and you go, you remember the recording session. It was just an assignment to do something to lip sync that song on a TV special.
Yeah.
So Carl Reiner, this comedian,
Love Carl
he's
Reiner.
okay, he's the TV special guy. Hey, you
Yeah.
guys take this in. This will be fun having the squeaky clean Cowsill family sing this Hair song. And
Oh,
we agreed. And so, but we only had 2 days because we had to go on the summer of '68 tour was Indian Lakes a hit too. So,
yes.
but we're going in for 2 days before we leave for the road to record this Hair song. And man, we banged it out, and and then hit the road. And we thought it was so good. We sent it to MGM and they didn't like it. Indian Lake's a hit. It's like, that's not Indian Lake. I'll tell you that. Who are you? Who are you? And we thought, no, listen, this is so cool. And we didn't know about the musical or the phenomenon that's on the way of, we're going to have Hair as number one, but so's Aquarius and Let the Sun Shine In. So's Easy to Be Hard by Through a Dark Night and Good Morning Starshine by Oliver. We're going to be a top 10 phenom with other groups from a musical. None of us knew about any of that, believe me, in the spring of '68, what was coming in the spring of '69.
Right.
And that's when we did this TV special. Hair came out. They finally put it out. Look at that's almost a year after the recording, right?
Yeah.
Because that was just a homework assignment. We got our song to lip sync on this TV special, which we had to do at the end of the tour. So mission accomplished, but we ended up having a great moment in the studio for 2 days and put something together that was pretty good.
That's awesome, man. And it was phenomenal. I mean, did you guys get to like talk to Carl, hang out with Carl Reiner? Did you get to experience that
Oh
world?
yeah, we thought we liked him, and we were young to him.
Mhm.
We saw
Sure.
him We saw him decades later when he was 90, and we walked in. He said, "Oh, look at you! You're all grown up." Because the last time we'd seen each other was '69,
Oh my
was when we
God.
did that special. It was called World of Pizzazz with him and Michelle Lee, and he was a great, funny guy. You know that, and he was so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, it's I'm a huge Dick Van Dyke Show fan. Love the Dick Van Dyke Show. I can
No,
tell you
all of
every
that.
episode, yeah, by name. It was like
Yeah.
one of the best, top five, one of my favorite TV series of all time. And I got to befriend Bill Persky, one of the writers, one of the main writers for that show.
Mhm.
It was Denoff and Persky, were Sam Denoff and Bill Persky, and just the stories that came out of there of just that time period are just it's just amazing. It seems like you know you can't touch it. You know what I mean? That whole you know the TV, the movie stars, all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff was just it's untouchable. It's like
Because
crystallized.
it was, I called it, we were all in the music too, and the TV and the comedy was all this frontier participation by us first responders, I'll call us,
Yeah, yeah,
where our rock groups, our TV shows, this it's all new. Do
yeah.
what you want. If
Right,
people love it, you made it. You did it. There's nothing to compare any of it to. Sort of as we're going along, we're making up what it's going to compare it to. Well,
right.
that's not like the Dick Van Dyke Show, but you can't. You went to the Dick Van Dyke Show and like, well, that was like nothing else. So
Yeah,
anyway, a lot of the stuff back then. I love when I was born. I was born in '49. I saw it all from color television, arrival of that, all the way to what we're doing today. It blows me away.
right.
Blows me away. It's a good time.
What were the groupies like for you guys? You know what I mean? Like that must have been kind of nuts. You're all young, you're all good looking. You're running
Yeah,
around LA, Burbank, and stuff like that. Like, do you have any crazy stories of like having to deal with that?
unfortunately, here's what it was with us. There, of course, there were girls. Girls, I mean, of course,
Yeah.
But I will say that Bill and I, from the time we were young to the time we were in our young 20s,
Hmm.
were so focused on music and managing this nutty career that we were managing, the up and down and the nutty things our dad was doing. And it was so insane. It took up all of our time. And that in combination with our dad, he swore a girl was going to take this whole operation down with these handsome boys, something bad was going to happen. So there was a circle around us, a wall around us. They didn't get in and we didn't get
Wow.
out. Now we were okay with not getting out. It's not like we were going, well, why can't we get out and go date? We didn't date. Okay. We did music.
Right.
We were busy, like, you know, I said, you do 3 albums in 1 year. You're writing and recording and touring all the other rest of it
Hmm.
and dealing with your crazy father and some business decisions that are being made that are affecting the whole thing. It's like And I can see why we just got so wrapped up in it. After it all blew up and imploded and everything
Yeah.
settled, did we learn about the world and outside and all the opportunities, this and that, and you know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, we just didn't pursue it in a way that was normal. But as young children, we weren't allowed to.
Right.
So we're raised that way. So when it came time and we hit the big time, believe me, it was all of our energies to handle the big time, quote unquote, for the 5 years that we did and the up and downness and what it was going to be, you
Yeah.
know. So it's like, but yeah, then later on, of course, you're very young when it ends. You know, I'm like 23. Life came at me, you know, kids and marriage and all of it, you know. But up until then, it was like all hands on deck
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
terms of the operation with the recording group and the family and the live shows and all that goes around doing that. Not managing it, doing it.
Right, right, exactly. And like how involved were you guys in like because I know your dad did a lot of the business decisions and stuff.
Mhm.
And I know like a little bit about, kind of what went on there, and I'd love to talk to you about it if you're cool with it. But
Yeah.
how about you guys in as far as learning the business? Did you, you know, did was that a strength that you guys developed over time, or did you guys already kind of like watch and learn what was happening in the background? Like, how did you handle some of the business decisions being made, and did you guys get to have, any kind of say once you were there? Like, if you were backstage
No,
at a
no,
thing, or
no. The only
okay,
place we had power was in the studio and with the
okay,
live act. But putting that aside, um, we did not have any say in the business and the operation
hmm
and the running of it and the decisions that were going to be made that were coming at us. We had nothing to do with it. We, and I mean, when I say we, it's mostly Bill and me, myself, because we're the producers and the of the family and the group, and
right,
we're working with other producers, of course. But this is coming back to our lap, back and forth. It's like a yo-yo this career. But so Bill and I had nothing to do. We dealt with the fallout of decisions and business decisions. We
wow,
dealt with because they're going to be harsh, some of them,
hmm
and so harsh that you don't have time to react. You know, it's like you had a million seller, the Rain, the Park, and other things. Finally, we got it. We meet Artie Kornfeld. He's our George Martin. Wow, that's solved. Good.
yeah,
We're going to have 20 hits with this man. Well, we'd had one because he's going to tell us about pot, and Dad's going to hear Artie tell Bill and Bob about the existence of pot and
right,
marijuana. And Dad fires Artie Kornfeld on the spot, and now it's dumped in our lap and whatever on that. But you see what I'm saying?
yeah,
That describes what's going to be the yo-yo history of the group in terms of it's just different names, different people, different decisions. But we
right,
didn't make them. No one consulted us. Do you think would like to fire Artie? We would have said you're crazy. They
sure,
just did what they wanted and told us what they did, and then we dealt with it. That was the career.
right. And what
And
about
it could have been so cool to. I wish it was. Yeah, we learned the workings, the back door. Man, we'd never lose money again. You know, but never.
Did you were you do you think you were kept out of those decisions because was it pure like a power trip on your dad's side, or did he truly believe he knew what was best for all of you? Like you know what I mean? Like what was it just having control over everything, or
Our
did you
dad, yes, our dad was raised in the military and raised us as a military family using military procedures and kind of applications, which aren't going to work in the long run, to raise his 7 children, 6 sons.
Oh, right,
Okay.
right, right.
And yes, he did think, and why wouldn't you? On the way up, you're being proven right. The naysayers are wrong. You got dropped from Joda Records. They're wrong.
Sure,
Philip Mercury picks us up. They're wrong. They drop us. Well, they're wrong. We're going to keep going. My way or the highway. They are wrong. Now, a lot
right.
of people would have stopped after 2 labels and 3 releases, but not our dad. So
Mhm.
now he goes to MGM. Now, well, however the decision's made, we're going to put Mom in the group. We are now different than any other thing on the market now. We've got a good song with Artie Kornfeld that he wrote for us. We've got the song. We've got the recording. We've got the group and the mother. And this has now made our group a total outlier from everything going on in 1967. And everyone loves it.
Right.
Okay. So, so now all the way up to that million seller, Dad is, come on, why wouldn't you think it? I knew it. I knew it all along. They were wrong. I was right. They were wrong. I was right. Now, what his mistake was at the top, you don't have to do that anymore.
Right.
You gotta listen to people who exist up there and know how to stay, and that
Sure.
it's gonna come crashing down. But yes, he did think, even in his silly decisions, that he was making the right decision.
Right. Did it take you guys as a family, like, because I remember, some of the stuff I've seen you guys talk about it. I think maybe build towards the later years kind of forgave your dad in a way. Did you guys come to that conclusion together? Because you guys, I mean, what's miraculous, and I don't know that it was talked about like a lot, maybe in the documentary and stuff, but you guys really had uh like in a way, because we're in a mental health crisis in this country. Mental health is one of the things I do kind of talk about all the time. It's in comedy, it's in music, it's in
Mhm.
what we do in general. But you guys really had a lot of stuff, a lot of hard times that you went through and had to process, probably at a time where people didn't really talk about that shit a lot. You know what I mean? Especially
No,
openly. And but
yes.
you all seem to really have come out like you're stronger, you're a close family, you worked stuff out. um who was that just done like because, as a unit, you know what I mean? Was that done did you have like work that you did on yourself and maybe with your own family privately and then came together? Like, how can you talk about that a little bit? Like,
Yes,
yeah.
because yeah, after look, this thing, when you can go from, oh, I think I'll go to Hawaii this weekend, fly first class on Friday and be home first class on Monday.
Hmm.
And it's the days where you're in first class and they roll up a roast beef and ask you where to cut it to feed you on that air trip.
Right.
When you go from that to losing everything, and
Right.
there's no money, and it's all been lost and mismanaged, and this is falling off a cliff. Okay.
Sure.
Now everybody falls off the cliff. Now, my dad's been preparing the final fall from the cliff for a long time because he's been doing crazy things. And my experience with our career was dealing with the crazy decisions he's making that we have to deal with.
Right.
Because first of all, we are in the public now. We're famous, the famous Cowsill family. Yes, you keep everything out of the paper. Back then you could. You can control your image.
Hmm.
You're the gap tooth Catholic Cowsill family, and it smiles and everyone wants to be in it. Now, now as we're going through it, we love the career because the singing and the stage and the recording session, this is our bread and butter. The kids, I mean, this is what we do. We
Yeah.
write, we're going to go in and record in the day when you can record right away. Even, you don't have to wait till you. So we are thriving off of that, and that's what makes us who we are. And in the meantime, in the back of it, we're kind of raising ourselves, okay?
Sure.
Because the dad and mom, they're in trouble, and dad's always causing trouble. And that does make the kids bond with each other. To this day, we bond, we're very tight as siblings because through most of our young adult, he tried to keep us apart from each other to not gang up on him.
Wow.
Later, we got this all figured out.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't have counseling. It was just all self-analysis, but he failed in terms of he tried to keep us separate and as he raised us so we wouldn't unite against him because he was a authoritarian in a real strict sense of the way.
Yeah.
So his way or the highway, all that business. So that followed us in adulthood. Some of us forgave him. I unfortunately didn't. I didn't. And our mom stayed loyal to him, so I lost her too. And then they died young. Mom
Oh,
was 56 and dad was 63.
wow.
Now I'm 72. I said, God dang it, why did they die? Could have resolved something, but so that's the lesson to all you people. Don't wait too long.
Yep.
You never know. I did have questions and I thought it could have been okay in the end, but it was very harsh what happened. And I'd had it with him.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
during the career, there's a lot of people counting on you, the record company, all that goes along with a career like that.
Sure.
So you respond to that by to the grindstone, what's next? What's the next album? All right, then let's go. Oh, we're producing now? Okay, fine. No, we're not producing now. Okay, fine. Who is Indian Lake, Wes Farrell. Okay, give us Wes. Well, we didn't get along with that. Wes is gone. We do hair. Oh God, now we got the biggest one. We did that ourselves again. So,
Yeah.
it's nutty, right? And by the time hair's done, we've dealt with so much craziness. Geez, if this would have been a smooth ride, who
Yeah.
knows how long we could have gone.
Yeah.
Uh, but it wasn't
Oh
going to
yeah.
be a smooth ride. So that's okay. And how you deal with that is going to define the rest of your future. We have three dead brothers.
Right.
Okay. They didn't deal with it very well, I'll tell you that.
Right.
And they have their own histories and their own documentaries and their own handling of a harsh situation. And you almost don't blame them because you went through it too. So
Sure.
you're empathetic as to why they did it their way. You did it your way. Hey, believe me, having children staring up at you and they're 2 and 4, it did a lot to like, "Oh, I think I better get with the
Yeah.
program here, kind of thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
or you can run and go to drugs. Do what you do, but
Sure.
anyway, the response to such a fall off the cliff is what defined all of us in the end. And there's four left standing,
Yeah.
me, Paul, Susan, and our brother John. And it's like, we're fine. We're tight. Absolutely, we're tight. We understand a lot of what happened, why it happened. Mom and dad were knuckleheads. I dealt with him all my life, that guy, dad. I mean, he scared me at first. And during the career, I had to deal with not being scared of him anymore, but dealing with his shenanigans as a business person and keeping the ship afloat with songs
Sure.
and albums and what the expectation of it.
Mhm.
So that turned into a different thing with me and dad. And then his ability to make the bad decisions. He throws my brother Bill out at
Wild.
right when Hair's #1. We're in our live
Yeah.
concert album, and I lose John Lennon. Okay, I'm McCartney. Okay, so I
Right.
lose John Lennon. Terrible, terrible, terrible decision. Should have pushed back on it. Didn't. And that was going to be the history of that. He turns down. He gets us. We had 10 Ed Sullivan shows. We only have 2 because of dad. He loses 8 because he gets in a pushing match with Bob Precht, Ed's son-in-law, who happens to produce the Ed Sullivan show. So
Wow.
Ed gets mad and takes 8 back from the family he fell in love with because of dad. We're gonna do Carol Burnett's summer replacement. So back then, Smothers Brothers and all these great shows had to have a summer replacement, and they had to come up with it. Like
Oh
Smothers
wow.
Brothers came up with Glenn Campbell, and look what happened to Glenn. He got a bounce off that come up. Well,
Yeah.
we were going to do Carol Burnett's summer replacement show one
Mhm.
summer. Okay, they picked the Cowsills, but our dad needed $30,000 because one of his Navy buddies was in trouble, and you had to have it in cash at that meeting or no deal. And they said,
Oh
no
my
deal, no
God.
deal then. So we don't get the summer replacement. You understand? So
Yeah.
what we got was great. No, look how we got 3 big hits and 4, and we love American Style. We got everything. The Partridge Family. We got so much,
Yeah.
but no one knows what we didn't get that would have made it more like a normal career.
Sure.
We're just salvaging what happened and getting what we could get, which was a lot. And you're up there in the top 10. You did good, you
Yeah.
know. But you can't sustain that. You can't sustain it. And once Bill got dumped, and me and Bill aren't partners anymore, that we were since we were 7 and 8 year olds,
Right.
that's a, a crushing move. Crushing.
Did you so when he got booted, did you guys communicate still, or was he did he distance himself? Oh wow. Wow, that's hard, man. That
It
is
was a
rough.
Sunday morning. We're going to LAX. We got a big tour coming. We're going to Annapolis. And dad finds pot scrapings in Bill's car, scoops him up, brings him to the table in the living room. We're all ready to go. The luggage is in the hallway. We're going. And he says, "This is what happens if you don't obey the rules." He's still a military guy. "This
Yeah.
is what happens if you don't obey the rules." And he kicks Bill out of the band and out of the family right there. And we have no choice but we got to go to LAX. We leave him behind. It's
Wow.
over right there. We go to LAX. Next night we got a concert, and me and Paul are scrambling. I'm
Yeah.
learning Bill's, Paul's learning my parts. There's so many of us. The audience, we've always been this way. We've been very flexible and malleable in terms of on stage. Even if someone couldn't make a show, the show didn't suffer. Okay,
Right.
there's 7 of us. I swear we all look the same. We look like the Osmonds and us. And who knows? No one said anything about Bill at that show, and no one asked. And we
Right.
just got through the tour.
And there's no
But
big screens back then, right? So nobody's doing
there's
camera
nothing.
angles zooming in. Yeah.
There's nothing. You plug in, your sound hopefully is even listenable. God knows what we sounded like in those days with these sound systems we all had to put up. But that's another issue. But the fact is that, man, we did that tour without Bill, and this destroyed everything. It had horrible repercussions. Bill, we were going to see Bill probably 3 times in the next 30 years. That's how crushing that was.
Wow,
Okay.
I had no
Three
idea.
times. Yes. One was me and Susan finally went up to Canada. He was so sick at the end, and we
Yeah,
went and saw him and we had a benefit concert for him and did that, but he went to Canada after that Sunday up to Yellowknife. They embraced him. He was a rough and tumble guy. He's on drugs now, so yeah, he's rough and tumble. He gets a singles deal
right.
with MGM, puts out an album with all his friends, great. But he's going to go to Canada and never come back, and he never
Wow.
did. And they embraced him. He sang in Vancouver. He was the great pub singer of Vancouver for years.
Yeah.
And but when he turned and left, he turned and left.
Oh
And
man.
I was just scrambling. I was left again. I was my career was like the fallout.
Yeah.
So the fallout is we're still signed to MGM. We're going to get dropped. But then we're going to get signed without Bill to London Records, the first American group signed to London Records. And now the pressure is we're going to put out an album. It's not going to do well. The last MGM one doesn't do well, so they drop us. They're critically acclaimed now. Funny how that is. But the
Yeah.
issue is Bill's gone. Everyone knows the Cowsills now what happened. Bill's
Sure.
gone.
Right.
So now we're under a different microscope, but you can't reinvent yourself. The albums are good, but clearly it's a band reinventing itself. You can't
Right.
do that in the public. They don't have the patience for it. The record company doesn't have the patience for it. We got that.
Right.
And this thing is over after that London album and one last single. It's over, but it's never over. I mean, that's over. I'm going
Hmm.
to become a pub singer for 28 years. Susan's going to be rocking the scene in New Orleans with her bands through the whole thing. Barry's going to keep singing. Bill's going to keep singing. Everyone's keep going, but apart.
Right.
And everyone had kind of had enough of it. Paul has a great story of the early 70s with Bill and Waddy and this deal they got on Capitol and crazy days,
Hmm.
crazy days. And the rest of us were just trying to recover, and we made a couple of albums, but again with John, me, Paul, and Susan mostly.
Right.
We were the group that stayed tight. The others went a little nutty buddy.
Yeah. Was there any resentment toward Waddy or anything like that when you guys were? Because I know he was very close with Bill. Was he close with all of you, or what was that dynamic like?
We were kids in high school bands in Newport, Rhode Island. Our band was the Beatle band, and Waddy's band was the Rascals band because they had a Hammond B3. And
Okay.
so that now we coexisted and both very popular. And they were very good. Our jaws were open on them, and they thought we did Beatles like nobody could. And Waddy
Right.
still says we're the best Beatle band he ever heard. But back then. But Waddy and Bill connected, and this is going to be a seed that builds right there in high school against my dad.
Mm.
And my dad and Bill never saw eye to eye, and Bill Waddy became kind of for both Bill and I. Both Bill and I are the ones who really knew Waddy because
Okay.
we're the older guys.
Sure.
So we know Waddy. We want to be Waddy's band instead of our own. It goes all the way back to that because his band's cooler.
Hmm.
But he is a great guitarist,
Yeah.
and we do learn from him. And we learned some songs from him that we put in our band that he arranged. And we're even going to do one later in our career, Silver Threads and Golden Needles. So Waddy is a big influence.
Mm.
But we're teenagers. These two guys are trouble, Waddy and Billy, in
Right.
the house. And Dad's going to take everyone on, and Waddy was witness to a lot of it. And then we ended up all coming to California, even Waddy and his guys, and we're all out here. And yeah, Bill wanted to go down, like Waddy's independent and does what he wants, and he's got his band. Blah, blah, blah. What kid, teenager in a family group wouldn't want to jump ship and
Yeah.
go over there? And
Right.
Bill did. He did want to, and he did it.
Hmm.
It was harsh. He got booted,
Yeah.
but that was going to probably happen anyway. I don't know. But now Waddy was great. And in terms of musically, he really helped Bill and me in the early days. Oh, things about drumming and keeping meters and how to record. And he knew things. It was really cool
That's
that
awesome, man.
we didn't know.
Did you get to, because I know when you made the documentary, you were kind of reaching out to other people to kind of piece, which I thought was beautiful, by the way. Like, I've never seen a documentary kind of done that way that was so introspective, because it looked like you were really trying to piece together maybe stuff you couldn't figure out back then, which was awesome to
Totally.
see.
Go.
Did you get to? I don't remember. Did you get in touch with anybody like a Carol Burnett to try to figure out like what is that? How you figured out what happened in the background of that, or like how did
No,
you
we
get all
knew.
of those details?
It depends on the source, the like the Carol Burnett thing is this a guy that worked with us and with the company at the time, Biggie, and we knew who he was, and he was
Mm.
there.
Oh, okay.
For the documentary, though, like yeah, an example of that for our documentary was we was getting in touch with Brooks Arthur. Brooks Arthur is a very great recording engineer, in on a lot of hits, people, and
Mhm.
he was part of our team with Artie as the producer. Brooks is the engineer.
Okay.
Um, and we got Jimmy Wisner arranging. He arranged for everybody back then. The team is in place. Brooks is the one you could go to and say, Brooks, what happened? How did it all fall apart? Yeah, you go to people like that to fill in the blank because all we know is that one night we were supposed to go to the studio and we didn't go. That's
Right.
all. That's all we knew.
Hmm.
But what we found out was why we didn't go to the studio was because our dad, that was the time he had fired Artie Kornfeld, and we were already working on our next album. And we didn't show because dad sent down a couple of people to take the tapes from Artie and Brooks Arthur who were waiting for us. Look how he did things, right? That's so bad karma.
Yeah.
But anyway, they went down and got the tapes and we were spun some story later about they took us to the new guy, Roy Sakala at A&R, who we're going to fall in love with and do a whole album with. But right now, he's sitting and telling us that, oh, well, what you did with Artie and Brooks, that's not you. You sound better than that. And they're spinning why Artie got fired
Right.
because we're going to learn the real reason later about that nonsense.
Wow.
But right now, we got to scramble. We're in the middle of the second album. We got to scramble.
Right.
And it is what it is. And we did get, as children, you got good at that. It is what it is. Stop moping about it, and you learn to get over things quick. So we got right back into it with Roy Sakala, a great engineer, again, working with engineers on the We Can Fly album. Bill and I are producing. Okay, we're over Artie. We got to work. We got to work. And probably that was a good thing because you worked for hours on this stuff back then,
Right.
hours to record, and you could work for 4 hours just getting a bass drum sound. It just was time consuming.
Yeah.
And so you loved it. I said, oh, we're in the lab, thank God.
Yeah. Did you have a moment where either on stage, because sometimes people have that thing where like uh you're working so hard, you're trying to produce good music, you're trying to get out there and do whatever, but then all of a sudden things slow down and it clicks and you're like, holy shit, we're really fucking good at this. You know what I mean? Like, do you remember a moment or a time where you guys live on stage where all of a sudden you were like, we got this, we're fucking amazing?
Not really, not inwardly, really. We had
Okay.
audiences that reacted that way.
Yeah.
And it could be from being at this since children or something. And the evolution of an audience as I evolve as a person went with me on that. That was part of the journey, the
Okay.
audiences from the third grade up. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
To 30,000 in Montreal. To all that was going to happen eventually.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
you never walked around feeling that. Even we recorded our latest album, Rhythm of the World, we recorded last year and put it out. Even then, we we think it's good because it's us.
Sure.
You got to think what you're doing is good.
Yeah.
Will everyone agree? Was as veterans, we know that question is the big question. Will everybody agree? Can you get to anybody anymore? But you don't
Right.
worry about that in the studio. You got to record your great album, no matter what. And
Yeah.
even then, we stop and say, "Is this any good?" I think we've asked, "Is this any good?" all along the way. We really have. Is this any good? And by that, we mean the definition of the question is anyone else going to like this but us? So, and you got to roll the dice.
Yeah.
Now you got to get a shot. We got that in the old day. And we get a shot now because of our legacy and what we bring to the table, but you still need a bigger than that to do anything today because it's managed and controlled. We feel the whole industry is managed and controlled. I mean, the Disney stars, they just they're going to make it, and you can
Yeah.
get good songs. There's good singers. All of these music shows, The Voice and American Idol. If it proved anything, it said, yeah, you're the famous singer, but there's a ton out there,
Yep.
that could be, and just didn't get the shot. And there you go. These shows are proving that, right?
Sure.
So it's like you put your shingle out, man. There's going to be a lot of good shingles out there now because a lot of good talent is out there. They know how to write. They know how to record. We were rookies when we did it,
Right.
but the writers of today grew up on all the writing from our early days through all the 70s, 80s, and 90s to today. It's like, wow,
Yeah.
it's incredible, you know?
Absolutely, and you can still see the influence from all that stuff. That's the thing. I was watching a oh my god, I'm gonna blank on her name. It was a documentary that Scorsese did about and I love this woman. She's a writer. Um,
J-Lo? J-Lo?
no, 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 no,
No.
no. She's a like a
Oh,
an author. You know what I mean? She used to write column shit. Leibowitz,
okay.
Anne Leibowitz or Fran
Oh,
Leibowitz.
Aaron, yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah, that's what you mean. Yeah, I know who you
yeah,
mean.
yeah. So Scorsese does a documentary, but she was talking about um 60s, 70s, 80s, that kind of thing. And she goes, "You want to know how I know that those are significant decades and why they're so ingrained into everybody's?" Because she goes, "When I was a kid, I don't remember anybody running up to my parents and going, 'What was it like in the 30s?'" And it's like you're
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, that makes there was so much cool shit happening then and so much influence and stuff coming out
And
of
and
the
once it landed, it was the firstborn of all of it.
Yeah.
You're right. Our parents, I don't know what they did, but we know what we did,
Yeah,
and our
yeah.
kids know what we did,
Yep.
and our grandchildren know what we did, and the others did after us. Everyone's caught up now. They've seen the evolution, and we were in the beginning. And those songs are so strong to this day. They are why the Happy Together tour with 6 groups from the 60s sell out 60
Yeah.
cities today. Not because of the groups. Good Lord, we're in our 60s and 70s. Because of the songs
Songs, yeah.
and being able to play them correctly.
Yeah.
Because that's what blows people our age, and you can still play it like that. Well, that's very impressive for
Yeah.
70-year-olds. You know,
But you
the
guys still sound amazing and sound the same. Like that's the other thing too is like I think there's I mean I don't know if there's a science to it or whatever it is, and not even to diss the guys who don't sound the same, but I don't even understand how like some of you guys who've been doing it forever, either
yeah,
maybe you take care of your voice, maybe there really is like a regiment to it, you know what I mean? But sometimes you hear people and you're like, oh my god, that's so sad. They don't sound like them at all. And then sometimes there's like dudes in their 80s who still like hit the same note and you're just
amazing.
like I
Yeah.
saw oh my god I think he passed away but Jay from Jay and the Americans, right?
Okay.
I remember like years ago I was in a comedy club. It was me and Dom Irera. We turn on the TV in the back of the room, and for some reason it's some PBS thing, and I guess they're just doing a lot, like they're like Jay's and whatever somewhere, and we were like, oh, we were kind of looking at it, we're like, oh man, I wonder what's gonna, and boom, he just belts out. He must have been 70 whatever, belts out Caramia, and we're like, what the fuck, like how the hell, what is it? But you guys, same thing, you guys sound incredible, sound the same, like you never stop, like never missed a beat.
It's funny you mentioned Jay. We're fortunate in that I sang at a pub in Woodland Hills for 28 years. Okay,
Hmm.
4 hours a night. That's that's work. That's muscle. You know, it's a
Yeah.
muscle. Susan never stops. It's a muscle.
No.
Now, there's a DNA component. Everything has it, and that has it too. We get it with our blend, and we get it with sounding young as we're aging, because all of us in our family have no problem doing this. The
Right.
warble will come in. Even I hear little in McCartney, even, but it's got to
Yeah,
come
yeah.
in. And I know about that, and that's okay.
Hmm.
But right now, we're happy to man have our voices be in such good shape, and even every summer, doing it every summer for 60 shows, that's like sprinting, you know. So even our summers are keeping us in shape for the next summer, and
Yeah.
the winter shows keep us in shape for the summer. It's like a workout
Right.
routine, really. But there is a strong DNA component, we think, with ourselves, because all of us are doing fine
Yeah.
in the family.
It's incredible, man.
That's exciting. That's a cool thing. And Jay, listen, Jay and the Americans are on the Happy Together tour this summer. They've never been on it. So they're going to do 60 shows with us, right? And they're one-nighters, and it's brutal, but it's so
Wow.
fun. And you mentioned Carter Mia just the other day. Paul, Susan, and myself were talking, and I think they're at J number 5 or something, but whatever on
Yeah.
that,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you got to sound like Jay to be in that band. Okay,
Yep.
to be in the
Absolutely.
Beach Boys, you got to hit high notes. You don't have to sound like Brian. But in
Right.
Jay and the Americans, if that guy, and you mentioned Katamia, if he nails that, and we go, if he can nail that every night, he's going to bring the house down.
Yeah.
The- I can hear it. I get the crescendo because we know the audience in this show. He's gonna kill it,
Right.
and then we're going. Gee, I hope he can do that every night for six. That's a tall order.
Yeah.
That song. Ah,
And you're
so it is fun.
when you're on tour with all these guys and people that you've known for, decades and stuff, from your past, is it more, I don't know if there's any like, feeling of competition in musicians because trust me, when it's comedians, we can be pretty bitter, like
Yeah,
just in general. But now, like you guys are all together. Is it cool to reminisce and to talk about? Like, do you all feel comfortable? None of that. Do you think that kind of
yeah.
stuff is dropped at this point?
Probably because none of us thought we'd be getting a tour like this at this point in our career ever.
Right, right, right.
When we were young. In fact, if you told us we would, we'd tell you, don't let us do it. We'll be embarrassed. But it's not that way. Of course it isn't. But now you share stories. It's not competition. Here's what happens in the Happy Together tour. The good groups, and look, there's a tier in every show. There's 6
Sure.
bands. How can everybody be equal, right?
Right, right.
But here's what happens. The good ones help the not as good ones up their game. Everyone helps each other up their game. You want to do great, of course. So you're going to up your game. And if you have a good game, you're going to try and make it better. And if the other band, they want to have their game be as good as yours. These audience really give you indicators. Oh, we love you. Hey, we want them to love us. After our set.
Sure.
So it's a friendly competition because everyone knows there's no reason to compete other than friendly. At this point in our careers, we're all grateful. The songs were strong enough to carry us all still,
Yeah,
and fill these venues we're having. We have it's our 10th summer, very sold out audiences because it's us. We're not dead yet.
Yeah.
We joke,
Yeah, thankfully, yeah.
Look, there's no more doo-wop shows. We know what's going on.
Right.
The light at the end of the shelf life might be shrinking on this tour and all of us, but it's not yet. All right. And we're proving we're going to be the generation that goes a little longer. Sorry, folks, but we are because the songs are they're reason to celebrate.
Yeah.
And if it's okay if once every year in the summer we all gather to do that celebration. And we're going to miss it, when it's gone.
Beautiful, man.
It will be gone. We know that.
Yeah. No, that's great. I'm like, that makes me happy because that's for I'm a big superhero nerd. You know what I mean? So like for me, like the best thing in the world was seeing all the superheroes together on the same page. You know what I mean? Like Captain America. But like, also being a music and comedy nerd, when you see all the people you love together at the same time having a good time, you're like, this is the greatest team up of all time. Like so you're happy.
It is fun.
Yeah.
Good analogy, because I love the Superman comics, but man, when I saw that Justice League one with everybody in, I was like, I'm in, So, and that's true, because we do a finale at the end of the show, and last summer we had Little Anthony, and I mean these people, I'm up there at the finale. I always note it there because we're all up there together. I know we're old and everything, but the people I'm standing with, what they did for the music, collectively, what we all did. It's so special that's what we get to celebrate when we perform, even anytime we perform.
Sure.
Because we're still performing. It's incredible to us.
I love that, man. Is there a piece of, especially coming from, you and your family doing covers and stuff like that, is there a piece of modern music that you guys think about covering or want to tackle? Or like, do you kind of like, mess around with anything when you're just goofing around together? Like, is there a piece of modern music you really like? Even 90s. Like,
I was gonna say not recent.
Right. But any 90s shit or 80s.
Because it's been a series of solo artists and solos. It's either a girl or a guy.
Sure.
But the latest thing I wanted to, and this is gonna go back, a group that I thought we could do their songs was Stone Temple Pilots. Okay.
Oh,
but
yeah.
we never did. But their hits, I said, I want to play that. I want to play that song. They sang it so cool. I loved his phrasing. We never did, though. But other than Stone Temple, I think Alice in Chains, I wanted to learn in the box song once.
Yeah, man.
And there was the two harmony thing. The two brothers sang. I almost wanted to do that, but I can't remember.
Yeah.
Things or something in the way. Anyway, but nothing recently, to be honest with you. And I listened to Taylor Swift. I mean, I like her female stack of harmonizers. It's very tier wise. It's very up here all the time for me in terms of Taylor's sound. but I get what she's doing. A lot of female vocal stacking, and I get the lyrics and stuff. That's a little too much for me, but and her fans, it's quite a thing to watch the whole Taylor Swift thing to me. It's a
Yeah,
combination of timing and her, and I mean, I saw her do an anthem at Dodger Stadium when she was 13. The girl's been good her whole life. I know this.
right.
Um, but it's really something to see, I got to tell you. And so I like her sound. I, Ed Sheeran, I, I I think we're in another phase. We did this once where we have these sensitive male lead singing
Hmm.
uh, hit record makers for a while. It was John Mayer, it's Ed Sheeran,
John Mayer. Yeah.
it's these single guys, that the girls love and
Yeah.
the tender lyric and stuff. And I get that. That's okay. It's okay. I'm
Yeah.
all right with it. But there's no more guitar players. There's no more
Right.
lead guitar parts on records. There's no more. I don't know. It's a thumping kind of sound now these days, but there aren't bands.
Right.
There's
Right.
not bands
Right.
with the great lead guitarist that's going to shred something. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Those days are gone. We're
Right.
into fast lyrics, lots of lyrics, and it's
Green
fun to
Day.
watch.
Green Day just put out a new album. Have you heard of that yet?
I'm okay with Green Day. They made the most out of three chords. I'll give them that. And I know that's not putting them down.
No. No.
Look, they had the Broadway thing. There was a time they were America. They were depicting America. Okay, they had a time where they were that big. Okay, they were that big, and
Hmm.
everybody comes back. I don't care if they
Yes.
say we're out. Okay, you're out. See you
Yeah.
till
You're
you're not.
right.
Because why don't you?
Right.
Do you, because they? I hope that bands remember that once they're done, their music isn't. It never
Right.
is. That's their legacy.
Yep.
Do you want to have no one perform Green Day songs ever,
Right.
and just let it go, or do you want to come on back out and reclaim your legacy? No, look, they could do a stadium tour. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable. These bands today, the type of tours they could do, and we did college campuses and state fairs, and our day was just auditoriums and nothing like this. You
Yeah.
didn't have the sound system to perform in a big place back then like that. You couldn't even do it,
Yeah. What do you?
but I marvel at it.
Yeah, I had Melissa Oftemar on from she was the one of the writers and bassist in the band Hole, and then she was in Smashing Pumpkins, the bass
Oh, I
player.
love Smashing Pumpkins.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she was the bass player for
love
Smashing
Hole.
Pumpkins
Love
for a
Hole.
long
Yeah,
time. Yeah, they're great. And she was saying Dave Grohl, because I think she used to date Dave when she was back in Hole, and Courtney was dating um, Kurt Cobain.
yeah.
But basically she was saying Dave Grohl is like probably the last living rock star, because that guy can still, the guitar and the whole thing. I don't know if you're a fan of his, but he seems to be doing, all the cool
I've
shit.
watched David Grohl since Kurt's suicide,
Yeah.
and I watched him come out of that drum set and become like holy freaking mackerel.
Right.
Like that's what was sitting in that band. So I always look at the broader picture of something after you get over the shock of certain historical factors of what happened.
Sure.
You look at David Grohl coming out of that mess, and look what he did. And I go, life is amazing to
Yeah.
me. His story is amazing. He
Right.
had to be he had to be sitting under wraps with I don't know. I'm sure there's great documentaries on him even on that transformation. But yeah, that what a story. I
Yeah.
couldn't believe it. And he was
It
so
is.
good. I go, dude, you're better. I thought, you're
Me
better.
too. I 100% agree, and it's kind of funny
Yeah,
because obviously what happened was a tragedy, but you wonder like would he have branched off on his own, or would he have just stayed in the band? Like you don't fucking know, but you're like,
yeah,
we got what we got, so that's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. He'd be a great interview. Did you ever try and bring songs?
I met him. I was doing a stand up thing because I lived in California I lived in LA for 2 years. Not a great 2 years, by the way. But you go
I'm
out
not
there and
surprised. Yeah,
yeah. It was my I went out there swinging. I had a bunch of meetings, and then of course the meetings stop, and you're like, oh, uh,
yeah.
what do this is terrible. I don't know anybody, and it's always sunny, and everybody's pretty. Uh, like you're like, this can't be real.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
but
called flatline. All
yeah,
right. Okay.
100%. That was
Yeah.
exactly what it was. But I was doing a gig in Burbank at this comedy club, and he happened to be in the audience, which is just nuts,
Wow.
right? And I don't know why. I mean, he must have been there to, maybe he lost a bet. I have no fucking idea why he was in Burbank.
Yeah.
But of course I was like, I gotta go up and meet him. Coolest dude ever, like he's like nice set, blah blah blah. And I said the dumbest. I don't know what happened to me. I mean, I didn't look exactly like this. I had a little bit, shorter hair, but still long and poofy. But I go, I'm like, hey man, he's like, great set. I'm like, oh, thanks so much. It's great to meet you. And for some
Wow.
reason, I thought this would endear me to him. And I was like, hey, my mom loves your music. No idea why I said, and he goes, and he just looks at me, and I kind of have the same facial hair he had, and he goes, "Your mom?" I'm like, and I was like, "No," but I mean, like, but also like, and then I was like, he goes, "Do you want a picture?" And I was like, "Yeah, can
Yeah.
I?" And he was really cool and took a picture, but I was like, I was like, "Your mom, my mom, not me." I didn't
Yeah.
say that. I said you're like an idiot. So, but he was super cool, and I'd love to.
Those are the moments you relive occasionally and rewrite the script for it.
Yes,
The
yes,
what
anything would
if
have been better.
rewrite. The what if rewrite.
Oh God. I want to ask you. I know I've kept you a little bit over time. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, am
Um,
I making over? I like double time. Go ahead.
oh great. Let's do it. So my manager wanted me to ask because he very rarely like he'll be excited about who I have on or whatever, but he literally sent me a text message and he was like, ask him about so I'm looking right now. Actually, I should have
Okay.
actually written them down. But he said that you had worked with Chuck Plotkin, Springsteen's producer. What was the
Hmm.
relationship there? What was that like?
Well, so Chuck Plotkin, John and Barry, my brother Barry, and my sister Susan, Paul and myself, and Dennis Castaneris, we had a band in the late 70s, the Cowsills. And it had
Mhm.
been close enough to the hit record days about a decade later, a little less. We started writing and had songs. Um, through Susan was living with John Meyer, who's Jackson Brown's brother-in-law. Okay,
Oh wow,
so and Susan's babysitting for Jackson Brown's child. Okay, once in a
wow.
while. Jackson Brown knows Chuck Plotkin because Chuck
Okay.
Plotkin is an A&R guy at Electra Asylum where Jackson is and Ronstadt and Andrew Gold. They're all there. We call them the Electra Asylum group. They were
Hmm.
all over there. And Chuck, we were rehearsing down in the studio, and Chuck came down and heard us and took us under his wing. We were very, very naive and very rookie-ish, even though we'd had a career.
Wow.
We're new to writing and performing really again. It's 1977 now, 78. And Chuck has a studio, Clover Studios. He has his own recording studio, and he takes us in to make an album with us and worked with us. I mean, I wrote 5 songs for this man. These are these days. I wrote 5 songs for this guy before he finally said, "Now that's a song." Okay, so
Wow.
he's one of these guys. He
Hmm.
has a real ear, doesn't play music, but has an ear. Okay.
Hmm.
So we spend a year with him and we record what's going to be called the Cocaine Drain album. Uh, and a total of 16 songs, 10 at Clover, 6 out at a studio in the Valley that a
Wow.
guy named Emmett Rhodes, he owned that. And we went to and did it at his studio. But Chuck's our producer. He is teaching me how to write a song. He's teaching us our instruments on how to record properly because we're coming out of days of wouldn't it be nice kind of recording sessions, arrangers,
Sure.
instant, horns. String. All right, we got our gear on now. So Chuck in 78, we're in Clover every day and learn. And we made a great, great album. Got it done. Valgaray sequenced it. We got it all mastered. We got it done. And at this time, Bruce Springsteen shows up, okay?
Wow.
Right at this time. He's
Hmm.
at Clover. I'm up upstairs in the office, and Bruce is there with us, and we're talking, visiting Bruce. It's before Darkness on the Edge of Town, but he's Bruce. I know who Bruce is, and I'm
Yeah.
going,
Yeah.
oh, in my head, I'm going, oh, he's short. I didn't know he was short. He's short. Okay, so that's a big memory of that meeting. He takes our hand, my hand, and he gives me a cassette. I said, "You guys should record this," and it's a song called "Rendezvous." And so now I'm holding a Bruce Springsteen song on a cassette.
Wow.
So what's going to happen is this: Bruce Springsteen has decided he's working with Chuck at Clover, and he's decided that Chuck Plotkin is the only man on the planet who can mix "Darkness on the Edge of Town." He is the only person who can do it. He knows how to do the lead vocal, where to put it.
Wow.
That's going to lead to Bruce mixing "Darkness on the Edge of Town." We just finished "Cocaine Drain."
Right.
And Chuck mixes real good. I'm sure Bruce loved this. Chuck, when you mix with Chuck Plotkin, everything's quiet in the booth and nothing's on. And he just brings up the song, all of it, and starts mixing it way down there.
Wow.
And he goes, if you can hear the tambourine here, you'll hear the tambourine. All right. So Bruce had other people try and mix this freaking record of his because he's going to go big time soon, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Chuck's the guy. And this ends up being the end of the Cocaine Drain project and the beginning of a 10-year relationship with Bruce and Chuck Plotkin.
Wow.
Chuck's going to move to New York. He's going to get divorced. He's going to have a whole personal upheaval happen to him.
Right.
But through it all, he is there with Landau and Bruce Springsteen and mixing these songs because Chuck would get all the track done and then everyone had to just be quiet. He's alone at the console and his fingers are only on the lead vocal. He's got everything where he wants. And now it's moving that lead vocal. Anyway, so, and it was the end of our album. It is now going to be re-released. We signed with Omnivore Recordings for Rhythm of the World. They're going to release the Cocaine Drain album next year. And Global, this other one we did later, that's another crazy story. But anyway, the project died and Chuck went to New York. And, we're not in a position like the meeting stopped. It all stopped, and I'm 28, Susan's 18, 19. You were young. Okay, it stopped. Fine. All right, whatever, it stopped. But that's the story of working with Chuck. And he taught us how to make a record, how to produce a record, how to get drum sounds. I mean, it's easier now because of technology, but back then you had to work on stuff. He was very valuable in our teaching us everything about recording and making a record. And we know why Bruce took him. That hurt. It bad timing.
Sure.
There were other things in the equation, believe me, but that was that was the killer move.
That's crazy, man.
He had to go.
Yeah.
The boss. He was known as the boss even then. And of course, Darkness on the Edge of Town becomes a big hit in a different kind of way for Bruce. He's going to step up and become more famous. I mean, Born in the USA fame isn't coming yet. That's another decision he has to make. But that was the kind of artist he could do. How big am I going to become with this? Do I want that?
Yeah,
really, he struggled with that in Born in the USA more than Darkness on the Edge of Town, because Darkness on the Edge of Town was a coming out album. That was great.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah,
so that was so thank you for asking. That's our Chuck Plotkin.
Yeah, that was great, man. Thanks for sharing that. I appreciate it. And I wanted to ask you too, so, as a musician and also a writer, what's your process for writing music like? I mean, how do you go about it? Do you kind of hear the melody, like the music of it first, or do the lyrics come first for you? Are you a sit down and like, okay, I'm going to write music from 9 to 5, or do you kind of have inspiration come? Like, how do you do it?
I wish I could sit down and do that. I think those are the people that work. It's like the studio musician who can read and write the music gets work.
Yep, absolutely.
So no, what happens with me is I'm a batch writer. Historically, this has been what it is because I'm old enough to see that that's what it was. And it's like every 10 years, I'm going to write 20 songs. Nice. I'm not one of these people that carry around notebooks. If I see a line, I'll say it and let Susan put it in her notebook, but I don't notebook myself. I'm gonna start having melodies come at me. Okay. I'm not a lyric guy, a reluctant lyricist. So I'm going to have melodies happen, and they happen. And to the point where, having done it so many times, that I'm convinced that melodies and music exists out there, that songwriters have an ability to open their minds, open a door to let it through. Because if you've ever written a song in 15 minutes, you go, wow, And that really backs that up. If
Right.
you've ever written a song and you put a bridge in it and you go, well, that didn't work. But later on, you wrote a song and that bridge worked over there. That's when I think that is the case. Some songs took me 11 years to write a song once. You know, the melody always comes first and complete for me.
Hmm.
I have melody because it's in my head, and I can strum it. I don't write it down. I don't know how to write a melody down, but it becomes like a song in your head, right? Sure. So I
Yeah.
have a melody, and I might have a line.
Right.
I might have a line. But when it's time to write, and I know I have to write, then I will sit down and say, okay, I got to say something. Now with Rhythm of the World, it was great because I got to write with my brother and sister who are good with lyrics. So I
Nice.
could fire melodies, they could fire lyrics. This was like, oh, this is co-writing. This is cool.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm a melody guy, and I can have the whole melody done. I can even be in the studio with the arrangement almost done of the song, even without the lyric. I grew up listening to songs and arrangements, melody and arrangements. Okay, meaning
Mhm.
today there are hit songs that were hits that I grew up with. I still can't sing the lyrics to you, but I know the song real well. I know it
Sure.
real
Sure.
well, the arrangement, and but I can't do the lyrics for you because that's the last thing I paid attention to. I couldn't understand half of them anyway
Right.
in some of these songs. So I'm total melody guy, and I do have melodies, and they do come to me. I don't go looking for them. I'll just have a guitar, or I don't even need the guitar, you
Mm,
know. But that's just how it is with me, and that's just and that's the way it's been. That's how I wrote, so I can say that's how I wrote because that's what
that's
I did.
phenomenal.
And even the last batch I wrote was late. I said every 10 years, right?
Yeah.
Come on. So after about 16 years, these songs for Rhythm of the World, we wrote them in a summer on the tour. But before then, I have a melody coming out, but I don't
Hmm.
have time for it. I don't have time for it
Sure.
because, you know, oh, that's cool. That's it. Not yet. Because, and I knew it. And of course, once I start, I'm going to write a bunch of songs.
Right.
So know this about yourself. It's your style and how you were born almost. Then you don't worry about it. I don't have dry spells. They're just long spells in between prolific writing periods.
That is incredibly important, I think, especially for younger musicians and people learning to do stuff today too, because I think they can get trapped in, either paying attention to the way somebody else does something and thinking maybe, oh, because I don't do it this way. But you have to be in tune to your natural rhythms. Like even like,
Yeah.
you know, um, when I was starting out doing comedy, you kind of have this influx of people telling you exactly how you should be and what you should do. And I think for not for a long time, because I just have this in me anyway, probably from my you know, growing up or my parents or whatever it was, but I just kind of do my own, like I usually wind up doing my own thing anyway, but you still,
Mhm.
you look towards other people or there's people that influence you. Um, but for the longest time, it was like, you got to sit down, you got to write every day and you got to do this kind of thing. And then I felt like I learned my natural rhythm of being like, there's a cadence to comedy. There's a cadence to me and how I do things. And if I try to force anything, I'll never get what I need. But if I'm comfortable in my own skin and myself and everything, like now I just know, like you do, like basically what you were saying about like it just kind of coming to you. Same
Yeah.
thing. I just kind of experience the world as I experience it. If there's something funny once in a while, like a perfect line will pop in, and I'm like, I can use that somewhere, but I have to piece that puzzle together in real time, almost like on stage. Like I have, thankfully now I'm at the point where I've just got this you know uh solid group of material, but I still get to play in between. And if I can
Yeah.
make it sound like it's a
Yeah,
good
and I
enough
think
message.
that whole process, even in comedy and what we do, it just varies like snowflakes. There's a little variation for everybody. I
Yes.
get the person who can sit down. I'm sure Diane Warren can sit down and give you a song if you show her anything. Write me a song
Yeah.
about this. I think she could come up with something good. And I think probably all of us could come up if we practice it, that kind of thing. But you are who you are. And
Yeah.
and that's the writer I became, and I accepted it. I didn't try and say you must write, sit down and write. I go, no, I don't. I wouldn't
Yeah.
know what to do. So yeah, that's cool. I love the process. It varies so
Yeah, me
much.
too. It's crazy because it really is kind of magic. Like that's the
It
that's the
is.
thing to me that I find like there's just an element of magic and all this kind of stuff because it's still people still blow me away, especially because I don't understand, music and most of that stuff. Like I have a keyboard. It just I can kind of play. My mom can play by ear, but she was always super shy, so she never did anything with it. Like she was
Mhm.
kind of forced to take piano as a kid. She learned how to play by ear, and then we always had one in the house for a bit, but I never like did anything with it. And now I can like, I don't know how to read music, but I can kind of hear and memorize stuff or whatever. I own a banjo. I don't dare like you know what I mean? Like it was a gift that somebody else
Yeah.
had given me. It was like their grandfather, so it's really old as shit. And I see it on my wall every day. And there's a Kermit the Frog doll hanging from it, because I'm a big Muppet fan
Mm,
or whatever. Rainbow Connection. That's a classic.
I love
Um,
it.
right? And then, but I just, going to see music and knowing my friends who are just close friends of mine who are just amazing musicians, I still sit and watch and on, even sometimes, good comedy and stuff. I'm just like, that was a magic trick. That was fucking,
Yeah.
just out of thin air. And even when it's you probably have this too, but you do something on stage, something a little different, something whatever, and you're just like, where the hell did that come from? You know what I mean? Like you still get that like,
That's,
excitement or that spark.
that's a good sign when that happens to you on stage.
Right?
That displays a comfort level where I'm open, even up here.
Yeah, yeah. Do you
Yeah.
get like because I love talking about this kind of stuff too. Do you or your siblings kind of still get I know everybody gets excited. Like, do you still get butterflies in your stomach before going on? Do you still have that? It's exciting, or is it just because I still get it, and I thought it was a bad thing until I talked to I was at a Showtime taping for a friend, and there was a bunch of other heavyweights like comics who've been doing it for decades longer than I have, and I got to talk. I was just talking, shooting the shit backstage, and they were kind of bickering about who wanted to follow the other because everyone thought they were stronger. You know what I mean? They're like, I'm not going
Hmm.
after. You're out of your fucking mind. You know what I mean? They were arguing
Yeah.
about the order, and I quietly to myself, I thought, oh my god, like this still happened. Like like you still get like that. Like
Yeah.
is it that way for musicians too?
It is, well, for these musicians, it is. The
Yeah, yeah.
butterflies are, I would say over the years, probably the butterflies are more not because you're nervous about your performance. They're exciting nerves. You're gonna
Yes.
start. You're gonna start
That's
because once
awesome.
that show starts, I got 90 minutes, and I just look at everyone. I see you later. And we all just start the show. We don't know, those little turns that every show has that you didn't know about that you're going to have in that show are going to come in. All the fun of the show. So the
Yeah.
butterflies are more about that. We get butterflies the whole month of May. You can get butterflies for the Happy Together tour because that's a 60 city tour, and it's a bus tour, and you're going
Mhm.
to sleep in a berth, and you're older, and it's rigorous. You have
Yeah.
Yeah, you got 20 minutes on stage, but that means you have 23 hours and 40 minutes off stage. This is
Right.
the challenge of touring, is that. The butterflies are for just, okay, I know this is coming, it's going to be rigorous, but once the show starts or that tour, there are no butterflies.
Right.
The train pulls out and you go, here we go. Then it's the excitement of the show, and like, you go, wow, we're already an hour in, and you go like, things like that come into mind during the show. To
Yeah.
me, it's like, God, this is all we have left. This is going fast.
I know.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
butterflies are fun butterflies now, but
Absolutely,
they
man.
do exist. Yes.
How did you, as an entertainer, how did you handle the pandemic and stuff? Because I know it was hard and different for everybody, and sometimes they got to learn a little bit more about themselves or their craft. Um, what did you do to cope during that?
Yeah. We had two things that ended up occupying the whole time. And
Hmm.
we were fortunate because we had just finished recording this last album we made, Rhythm of the World, when the
Nice.
pandemic hit. So we got to mix it, which is a tedious process, with Frank Filippetti from his studio in Connecticut. For 8 months, we sent the songs back and forth, mixing it together remotely.
Hmm.
Now that filled a lot of time. You took your time, and there was no rush. You couldn't go anywhere. We did that during that time. The second thing we did was we started a podcast. The Cowsills podcast has been going on for 2 years. We have 123 episodes, everyone from Pat Boone to Steve Van Zandt to Bill Medley to all the Tommy James and the Peter Noons and the
Oh my
college
God.
rock stars have guested on it. And it was a great idea to do it. The three of us host it. And in fact, next week is funny you mentioned we're gonna have Jay and the Americans because because they're coming on the tour, so we
Yeah,
want
yeah,
to on our podcast and meet the new Jay. I think it's Jay number 5. We just love the history.
yeah,
But you better sound like him.
yeah.
And so we did that also. So we were fortunate to have projects to fill the time that stayed with us after it was over. The podcast every Wednesday still,
Great, man.
once we learned it, like look at
Sure.
you. I mean, it, it it's today's radio is what we
Yeah,
think of it as, but way better, way better.
I agree. Yeah, absolutely. And
We don't even want conference calls anymore. We want Zoom. We want Zoom conference calls. Even in our business, we like seeing the people we talk to. We got
yep.
so used to Zoom when at first it was intimidating, but
Yeah.
not
And,
now.
and and same, if I don't talk to my, like, if any part of my team is like, hey, can we do this over the phone? I'm like, no, I need to see your face. I
It's
like,
fun.
yeah,
It's
it is.
cool.
It's
Yeah,
it's
we
such a
like
good
it
time.
better.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna absolutely listen to your podcast too. I'm sorry I didn't even realize. I should have
Oh,
known
don't you
too, but
worry about it. It's up on YouTube. Just put Cowsills podcast. It just goes on and on.
that's
Uh,
great, man.
but these are great visits because they're with the historians. I mean, you talked to Steve Van Zandt about the Bruce Springsteen band. I mean,
Yeah,
I mean,
I had him
this
on
good stuff
early on
with all
too.
these people. They're
Yeah.
great people, and
And you know what? That's the coolest thing too. Like I don't get, like for me, like originally when I started doing the podcast, the natural thing and the thing everybody kind of tells you to do is have on every comedian, you've ever known and like all, which is great. And I love talking to my comedy buddies and even like I've had Robert Klein on and people that I wouldn't
that's
probably have.
awesome.
Yeah, love Robert Klein. And again, and what's cool too is like these people wind up becoming, um, you know, you become familiar with them, become friendly with them, and it's nice. And this is just me telling you, I'm probably going to text
It
you.
is awesome. Yeah,
I'll talk
no,
to you during
that's
the
an
holidays.
awesome part of
Yeah,
it.
it is. And then like, but the coolest thing was just like when I talked to my manager about having, I was like, can I get musicians on? And he was like, why the hell not? Like, let's like, cause,
Yeah,
and now I get to talk to all my heroes and stuff. And it's, half of me is trying not to geek out because I'm trying to be but the other half is like, are you fucking joking? Like, it's the weirdest thing, man. And
we
it's so
know that
cool.
feeling. Yes, we know that feeling. These people are gracious, man. Some of it,
Hmm.
and it's just so cool. I mean, we're all older, so back then we couldn't find each other. Even on tour, you didn't tour with each other.
Right.
We followed each other back then. We could all hold our own, on tour. And but now to get to talk to Chuck Negron and hear Three Dog Night stories and hear him say, we wanted to be in your band. You go, you did not want to be in my band. You would not have liked me back then. And just to hear stories of historical stories to me anyway,
Yeah.
it's just incredible. So yeah,
Yeah.
we kept busy during the pandemic, and I befriended a squirrel in my backyard who stopped running up the tree every time I came out and started giving him nuts, and he started sitting on my chair in the morning waiting for me.
Oh my
So
God.
I had a chance to bond with a little animal that normally don't bond with us through the pandemic, and that's all the reason it was. I was there every day.
That's
So I
great,
had
man.
that experience also.
Yeah, that is phenomenal, man. I love squirrel. The only thing that my cat got super used to me never going anywhere except maybe for a grocery
Yeah,
run or like whatever the hell it is. And now it's like he just thinks if I
yeah.
leave, it's the craziest thing I've done. And I'm like, dude,
That's a long time of pet spoiling for a pet to get over. Let me tell you.
absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely, man. I'm going to ask you the last three questions that I ask every guest on the show, so you'll be,
I'm ready.
So first question's a little bit of a softball one, but if you could go back in time and talk to your younger self, what piece of advice would you give yourself that would help you today?
I would have given myself the piece of advice to uh, be strong on your conviction to the point of taking action on behalf of yourself and not accepting the norm that's in front of you that you're told to deal with if you can change it and make it easier to deal with.
Beautiful, man. Second question is what had to end in your life, good or bad, that led you to where you are today?
What had to end in my life?
Yeah, good or bad, that led you to where you are right now.
Well, there's a number of occasions, but probably the harshest thing that my father ever did to any of us was take away Christmas one year from Bill. I never got over it. I was 13, and that was the start of a sequence of events that were going to harden me in a way that I was going to become like a survivor, okay, of things just from observing around me rather than surviving because I went through it and partook in it. I survived by watching it and avoiding it a lot. That incident and him throwing my brother out of the family and the band that Sunday morning in Santa Monica. If that had not happened, I don't know what would have happened to me. So, and I could pretty much say that to any major event in my life. I need it to happen to be where I'm at today because I'm okay where I'm at today. I'm fine with it. And
Right.
everything I've been through, I'm fine with it. So I don't want to change anything, but there were big, giant, gross versions of it that, oh my goodness, like what if Bill stayed in the family? He and I may have made more records together. I don't know. What
Right.
if Artie would have stayed? We would have had a longer career. Who knows?
Right.
But it wasn't meant to be. And I'm okay now, so I'm okay with all of it.
That's amazing resilience, man, and to that comes up a lot. Just the resilience thing, because I've had a bunch of psychologists on, a couple other different people on, and we still don't understand what makes one person resilient and one person not. That's still the thing that kind of, no one knows what it is, right? So it's amazing to have that and to talk about it.
I know it's DNA because I have a brother. I have a twin brother. He's gone,
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
could look at him and go, "What? What are you doing? What is in you? It's not in me. It's in him." I
sure,
don't know. You can only answer for yourself and marvel at others and learn from the others. And
right,
I've been very attentive to learning from others. I knew how to avoid dad
yeah, yeah,
rather than take him on. You
right.
know. So
Yeah, and I wonder if that also kind of learning how to avoid dad. You probably also growing up saw that characteristic in either other situations or other people, and you probably subconsciously also avoided those pitfalls too.
oh yeah. No, you're learn if you learn from people in your life, we all learn from people in our life. But
Hmm.
if you pay attention what the things you learn from people in your life, what in terms of what not to do, that's as important. And I
Hmm.
learned a bunch of stuff from dad and mom on what not to do, more than I learned what to do. And there's a lot of other people that that's there in your life for that reason.
Yeah,
And that's fine.
absolutely. And the last question's a little bit of a dark one. So,
Okay.
so it ties into the show. It's called Dystopia Tonight.
I, I,
Um,
I was interested in that name.
the doomsday clock is 90 seconds to midnight, closer than it's ever been. And that's a real thing. So you wake up, and it's the last day on Earth for everybody. It's a twofold question. What do you think is going to be the end? Do you think it's going to be a comet? Climate change finally hits and everything's happening. Do you think it'll be government collapse? And what are you going to be doing? What's your end game scenario? You know what I mean? Are you going to go out fighting? Are you going to go out playing the last concert, eating a cheeseburger? What's your thing? What's your last day like?
Well, let me think about that. I think unfortunately, I think that we're going to take it down. Unfortunately, I think we're
I think
taking
so.
it down, but we
I
don't have
agree.
to get into that. I'm
Yeah,
too
yeah,
old to. If I was younger, I'd be more active in it. Now I'm more observational of it. But I mean, the whole planet's going south to me.
yeah.
So I think unfortunately we're going to take it down. Now that's not going to surprise me. So I'm going to be thinking like, well, doesn't that just make sense? And all I'm going to do is quietly leave. I would just quietly gather whatever I'm near, accept what's going to happen as the inevitable thing that's going to happen, stick with my loved ones, whoever's nearby, and call it a life. It is how my attitude would not be fearful. I
Hmm.
don't think, okay,
Sure.
look, because I don't think it's a comet. If it's a comet, then, I've seen the movies, they're like, it get brighter every day, it's hotter every day. You're going to be died about 2 weeks, you're gone.
Right, right.
I'm talking like, uh, I'm more like nuclear, more like we really
Mhm.
did this. This is crazy. But I've seen history enough. I love seeing the planet. I love it, see it from space because I look at it and I go, What is with you people?
Yeah.
Oh, we have this land, we have this land. Oh, great, let's trade. That's all it has to be.
Right.
But whatever on people and men and any of it.
Yeah.
But nothing's going to shock me. And I would be kind of sad about that we did that because I think that's what's going to happen. I think it might be happening. So it's going to take a long time, maybe 2 generations from now. I'm not seeing love of mankind much anywhere, and I'm a little nervous about that,
Same.
So that's just my take on it, and it's just
Yeah.
observational. I don't espouse. I don't put people down. You can think what you want, say what you want, and I can marvel at it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's my position now. I'm not
No,
going to
that's
push
great,
it back.
man. I love that. I love that. The observer. You're the observer. That's
I
awesome.
am now. Yeah, at
Yeah.
my age.
I'll
Yeah.
take up my friends and I'll take up the rest of it. If we'll march for you or
Well,
whatever.
I used to be a participant in history. Right now, I watch it on my television. History. I was a history minor. Always, I took history in college. I love school. I stayed in college till by the end. I'm taking the history of movies and weather classes, but I got out eventually. But I loved learning about history. I always took history. So
Nice.
now, as you know, history is live on your TV set.
Yeah.
So this I can't stop looking. Often on what's going on in historical love of history, like some things I got I can't believe we're doing that. I wish we would do that. We all have our thoughts, but
Yeah.
I'm just watching the whole thing. I'm watching the whole thing go south, and we'll just see what happens. We'll see what
It's
happens.
truly surreal because it is one of those things where, like, my friends and I will talk about it all the time. And 2023, I think it's funny. I remember my first live show in the new year in 2023. I was joking around about how this 2023 was going to be a transitional year. 2022 was like everybody's back out of everybody was really excited to see each
Yeah,
other. But I was kind of joking. And then it turned out to be dead fucking accurate. And
yeah.
then, my friends and I were just kind of sitting around and somebody was like, God, I don't know what's wrong with I don't know why we feel like shitty or whatever. And I was like, well, of course we do. I'm like, like this is the weird, like, I think, and you can tell me if I'm wrong here, but I think when, historically during like times like a Great Depression or whatever it was,
Hmm.
people were well aware, like you could see it and you could feel it. So it was obvious what you were going through because that was the only thing. But now there's still, inflation that we're going through and 2 wars and, the pandemic stuff and dealing with the aftermath of that, and all that other shit. And there's all this stuff going on. But the other part of that is it doesn't look like it because we have the internet and streaming services and we have amazing technology and all this other stuff. So part of our brain is feeling this like, like you said, like there's the everything seems to be going south, but what we're seeing and visualizing for the most part is we have a million distractions. So there's like this cognitive dissonance. Does that feel correct? Like, I don't, does that make sense?
Absolutely. And the source of information has become so varied, so wide, so but yet narrow at
Yeah.
the same time.
Yes.
So that's an issue also. And look,
Absolutely.
they'll work it out. Um, People go through bad phases and countries go through bad phases, and they'll either figure it out or historically they'll succumb to whatever we're all going to succumb to. It's just going to come at us, whether we
Yeah.
blow each other up. I mean, there's not enough love right now. Okay, there just isn't.
Agreed. No, agreed.
And everyone's quick to judge and quick to respond and too quick to be. It's just. I don't know. We need temperance.
Uh,
Need to calm down, as Taylor
uh,
Swift said. Calm
yeah.
down.
Yes. What a great way to wrap it up. What a great 180, man.
Yeah,
Thank you so, so much for spending time with me, dude. Like I said,
appreciate it.
huge
Yeah,
fan of you guys and yours.
thank
And
you.
it was beautiful. Where can people find you? Do you have you got the podcast, which is great. I'm
Yeah,
going
we
to
got Cowsills podcast everywhere. Everywhere, it's everywhere.
Mhm.
You got the Cowsills Facebook page, cowsill.com. And we're just everywhere. Just put in Cowsill and bam, bam, there it
Great.
is.
I
And
can't wait to come see you. I'm going to come see you guys at the Count Basie. It's going to be great.
yes, look for us on tour, of course. Check out our appearances. We're everywhere and all the time still till we're
Awesome.
not. Thank you very much for
Yep.
having me. I really enjoyed the
Of
visit.
course.
And
Thanks so much.
remember, dystopia, that dystopia it can be a result of it trying to go after utopia too many times. So It's okay what you're going after. You know, you can be utopian on the way to dystopia.
Oh, that is I'm quoting you on that. I'm gonna plug the hell
It's
out. That is
true.
beautiful, man. Thank you.
It's
Thank you for
true.
that.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. It was a
Yep.
long sit. Appreciate it.
Thanks for doing this.
Dystopia tonight.